All right, everyone, let's dig into a topic that pretty much every business deals with, but honestly, very few get right: managing costs. Now, we usually think of it as this painful, necessary evil, right? But what if it's actually the secret ingredient for real, long-term growth? So, let's start with a question that gets right to the heart of the problem. Why on earth do so many companies get stuck in this frustrating, painful cycle? You know the one. They cut costs, and then boom, they just come right back. Well, according to our source material from Boston Consulting Group, this is an incredibly common trap.
And that question leads us right into our first section, something we're calling the cost-cutting trap. And for a lot of people in business, this is going to sound very, very familiar.
I mean, we've all seen this story play out, right? A company announces this huge cost-saving initiative, there's some tough calls, and for a little while, the numbers look amazing. But then, slowly but surely, those expenses just kind of creep back in. And before you know it, a few years later, they're right back where they started. And this quote from BCG just hits the nail on the head. See, the real goal isn't just about cutting costs for a quarter or two. It's about building a real lasting advantage, so you can finally break that cycle. So you don't have to keep going through this painful exercise every couple of years. So what's the alternative to this totally exhausting cycle? Well, it's about a complete shift in how you think about it. It's about turning cost management into a genuine strategic advantage. This is where you go from playing defense to playing offense. And you can really see that mindset shift laid out right here. On one side, you've got your traditional cost cutting. It's short-term, it's reactive, and let's be honest, it's usually pretty painful. But on the other side, you have a strategic cost advantage. That's long-term, it's proactive, and it doesn't just cut, it actually fuels growth and builds a stronger, more resilient company. And this is the absolute key. This isn't about shrinking the company just to survive. No way. It's about being smart and reallocating your resources to build a much more competitive business. The savings you find, that becomes the fuel for innovation, for jumping on new market opportunities, and for real, sustainable growth. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? What does this look like in the real world? Well, BCG frames its entire approach with three really powerful words. The core of this whole strategy is a holistic approach. It's not about doing one thing. It's about becoming leaner, faster, and stronger, all at the same time. So let's break down exactly what each of those pillars really means for a business.
First up, leaner. This is pretty much what it sounds like, doing more with less. It's about boosting efficiency, sure, but it's also about being way smarter with your cost structure. So, for example, instead of owning a bunch of expensive equipment, a fixed cost, you shift to a pay-per-use model, making it a variable cost. And, this is crucial, you use digital tools and AI to lock in those savings so they actually stick around.
Next, we've got faster, and this is all about execution. You can have the best ideas in the world, but they mean nothing if they get stuck in endless bureaucracy. Faster is about cutting through all that red tape, empowering leaders to actually lead, and having clear rules and accountability so everyone knows their job and gets it done.
And finally, stronger. And you know, this might just be the most important part of the whole thing. It's all about culture. A one-off project isn't going to change much in the long run. Stronger means building a culture where smart, methodical cost management just becomes part of the DNA. It's second nature to how everybody works every single day. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you actually put a strategy like this into practice? A great framework is nothing without a clear plan to bring it to life. And the action plan here is really smart because it's built for both speed and staying power. You kick things off with a super fast roadmap phase, just to get everyone on the same page. Then, you immediately shift to grabbing those quick, near-term wins. This part is so critical because it builds momentum, it proves the concept works, and it actually helps pay for the bigger changes. Only then do you roll out the long-term stuff, making sure the value you create is permanent.
So the big question is, does this stuff actually work out there in the real world? Well, when companies really commit to it, the results can be absolutely transformative. Let's take a look at the sheer scale of the impact for a few big companies.
So get this. For one major manufacturer of consumer goods, this approach identified a staggering $1 billion in potential savings. Just think about that for a second. That's not just trimming a budget. $1 billion is enough capital to completely reshape the business, to fund whole new product lines, maybe even enter new markets. Or how about this one? A global beverage giant saved $310 million. But the real story isn't just the saving itself. It's what that saving made possible. It unlocked an additional $1.1 billion to pour directly into future growth opportunities.
Now that is the strategy in action, savings funding the future.
And for a tech giant like IBM, the bottom line impact was over $1.5 billion. Again, this wasn't just some number on a spreadsheet. This was a massive amount of capital that was liberated from inefficient processes, freed up to fuel the next wave of R&D and innovation.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. What's the ultimate takeaway here? What's the real, lasting goal of thinking about cost management in this completely new way?
And this is so important to get. The goal is not a one-time fix. It's not a project with a start and an end date. The real objective is to build a permanent capability, to build a muscle for continuous improvement that gives the company a lasting structural competitive advantage in the market.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. When you think about the role of cost in any organization, is it just seen as a defensive tool for survival? Or is it seen as a strategic weapon for building a powerful advantage for the future? It's a question that really could change everything.